Is Meghan Markle a limpet? Now, this is a British term. You might not know what it means. It usually refers to a crustacean that hangs on to other things for dear life. But in British slang, it sort of means somebody who is clingy, maybe sort of desperate, and has no concept of personal space. And I feel like that completely encompasses Meghan Markle. Look at this. It's weird. She like leaned in, clinging to him. She has done this multiple times now throughout the Invictus games. I feel like the PDA has been ratcheted up to 11 for these games. We have 3 kisses now. I kid you not. That is the actual count. We also have numerous arms grabs, constant hand holding, the basic things that we can all expect for Harry and Meghan, but just increased tenfold. And I personally think this is somewhat of an indication of things not going well behind the scenes because sometimes when you're trying too hard and sort of overdoing your public displays of affection, sometimes that means that you're overdoing it in public because you're not really having it in private. But why is limpet so important here? It's because this is a term that apparently Prince William's friends and also Prince Harry used to use when referring to Catherine, the Princess of Wales. And Harry also talked about how apparently he thought Catherine enjoyed the press attention too much. Meanwhile, his girlfriend at the time, Chelsea Davy, seemed to not care. Oh, Harry, oh, Harry. My, how the times have turned. So, we are going to look into this a bit. And we are going to go way back into the royal watching past here, almost 2 decades, because I find this fascinating. Harry criticized Catherine for something he actually did. He married the limpet, not William. So, again, guys, we are going to check this out. But if you haven't been to Royal News Network before, hello, my name is Brittany. I provide compelling royal commentary. So, if you guys want to hit that subscribe button, I would love to have you back. And I do want to shout out again Anna Lucia Diamonds because it is almost Valentine's Day, guys. And this offer is still available until Valentine's Day. Although, if you don't order it soon, your items might not make it in time. But if you spend over $300, and that is still after using the code Royal20, you can get a ring for free while also saving 20%. So, like a great option for Valentine's Day is this lovely heart necklace. Actually, my mom got something very similar when I was born. So, this is sort of like a very special one to me. Also, you got the classic diamond hoop earrings, just little studs here because I love having something there in my second piercing. So, guys, if you want to check them out, link is down below and also up above. And again, use code Royal20, which saves you 20%. And then if you spend over 300 while also using the code, you can get a free ring. This irresistible one. It's beautiful. So guys, go ahead and check it out. All right. So Invictus is going on. So much is going on with Invictus. And just like a couple of things to like broad to go over about these games is number one, there's nobody there. I was looking at some of the pictures. Some of these are shared by like Elizabeth Holmes, who is there, some by Meghan, some by the photographers who are there as well. And there is nobody there. In fact, I was looking at it. I went to a pretty small high school. I feel like our weekend basketball games were more filled than some of those stands. And that's pretty sad. That's really sad. And this goes back to something that I have talked about with the Invictus games, and I feel like it's becoming a bigger and bigger issue. And that is that they're increasingly relying on Harry and Meghan to get the crowds there, but people don't like Harry and Meghan, so the crowds aren't there. I mean, the Sussex squad in reality is probably a very small group of people, and they ain't filling the stands. And then you have as well the fact that they have these big concerts to bring people in, but doesn't translate into people going to the individual competitions. So Canada has spent $30+ million to put on these games that nobody is attending except for mostly family and friends and some smattering of spectators. And so I have argued that I feel like this is sort of a waste of money if the Invictus games cannot support themselves by actually selling tickets to the individual events. They have a big problem. They have a big problem. People just aren't that interested. And the other issue is there's no incentive to go to these events if Harry and Meghan aren't there because we know nothing about the competitors. We know zero. And also Invictus games, and I'm trying to give you some constructive criticism here. Your YouTube thumbnails suck. They really do. They are a white background with yellow text. You can't read it. You can't read it. I do red background, white text because red makes people stop. I think black and yellow would be better. The people can't read it. And so I know that's not everything because pictures are sort of thumbnails now and everything. You need to fix your thumbnails, just putting that out there generally. I would encourage you to fix your thumbnails. So that way you can get people to watch because they can't get people to watch. You look at the numbers right now. Let's check it out. And I'll show you what I mean. I realize this is not totally the point of the video, but I feel like it's good to go over everything. So you can see it actually a little bit here on the main page. So this is the main page for my YouTube for Royal News Network. And you can see it right here. Chris Martin performs for the Invictus anthem, but it's white background with yellow text. You can't read that. I understand it's part of their colors, but that's really, really not what you should be doing. So if we go to the Invictus Games Foundation, all their videos are like that. You can't read them. You can't read them easily. They're hard to check out. Like it would be better for white background, black writing. I don't know why they're doing yellow. Yellow, I think, is one of the things that's supposed to catch the eye, but this doesn't translate well. I mean, that's even hard to read down there. So I bring this up because I feel like Invictus is not putting the work they need to do to get this thing for people to watch. People are not watching. Look at these 2.6 thousand views, 6.8 thousand views, 12,000 views, 12,000 views, 58,000 for Harry's speech, but I think that's down from previous years. Got 6,900. And then you got not even 1,000, not even 1,000, 4,000, not even 1,000, not even 1,000. People aren't watching this. They're not watching this. And part of the problem is Harry and Meghan. They are a huge part of that problem. And it goes on to multiple levels. Because number one, I think the Invictus Games is so worried that the veterans can't actually sell the games, which is the whole reason this is being put on, that they over rely on Harry and Meghan to get it attention. But the thing is, Harry and Meghan dominate all the attention. So nothing's getting about the competitors. And there's no reason for me as a spectator to go and just watch two people watch something. That's not compelling to get me to watch. I want to know why I need to pay attention to the competitors. For the Invictus Games to go forwards, I would suggest them to have, let's say, 3 or 4 main speakers and have them just in front of the press all the time. All the time. And they need to be trained well. I thought when Harry and this woman from Canada did a little interview before the Canadian Super Bowl, she was not well prepped to give interviews. He is not a great interview. And so it just didn't really help. They're not helping themselves. You really have to make people want to go to cheer on someone. They don't want to go and watch two people in the stands, especially if they're canoodling the entire time. The entire time. That is what Harry and Meghan are doing all the time now. It's canoodling. It's gotten worse because I know about the hand holding. We've always seen the hand holding. It's ridiculous. It's juvenile. It's childish. It's immature. And it signifies to people who are not there to cheer on competitors. They're on a date. They're on a date. That's what they're doing. It drives me bonkers because to me, I'm like, you're on a date, basically. If you're hanging out all over each other, grabbing each other and everything, you're on a date. And the thing is for Harry, and we've heard this a lot, is that Harry basically worships Meghan. And he's so consumed with protecting her because, she's at such great risk and she's the reincarnation of his mother and whatever delusional nonsense he has about her. So he is so worried about her. And she is very needy. She's very clingy that he sort of becomes enraptured in her and not as engaged with other people. Now, to be fair, there are times where, yes, he is definitely engaging with people. So is she. But when they're sitting down, especially in a crowd, they are oftentimes leaning into each other, doing different things. And this is not a great look because for an event like this, I would actually expect if you're really wanting to engage and wanting to promote, he sits on one side, you sit on the other, and there's people in between you, and you talk to the other people. And this is what happens with royals at various state events. And it even happens in aristocratic circles, dinner parties, those sorts of things. Because what happens with dinner parties and everything is that you basically are sat next to people you don't know. Your spouse, usually it's you, the guest, your spouse, another guest. They trade off. Royals even, maybe their spouse is at a different table. They don't sit right next to them. And there's a simple reason for that. And I think it's been a reason that's been around for a long time in terms of dinner parties, is that if you're sat right next to your spouse, you will inevitably not talk to the other people. You will talk to each other. because you two have familiarity. You can talk about the kids, you can talk about the hotel room, you can complain about staff, you can do whatever you want to do. And by design, you kind of don't talk to other people quite as much. I imagine if Catherine and William were hosting this event, as they would actually be sat separately. Now, this is not the case all the time, but if they're there specifically to engage with the people who are spectators, specifically with the families, it actually makes a lot more sense to separate you. That way, you can actually cover more ground. You can talk to more people. You're not just talking to each other. And you're not just, you have one person on each side. You can have two people on each side. You can have a different family you're talking to and everything. And again, I will specify, it's not that they're not talking to other people and hanging out with other people. They are. But we see a lot of canoodling as well, and an excessive amount of PDA. This Invictus Games, guys, we have had not one, not two, but three kisses. Three. Now, I know some people are like, oh, you're a prude. They're just in love. They're just showing your love. Doesn't matter. They're at work. Do you, if you work with your spouse, go over and kiss them all the time? No. After your husband gives let's say, a big presentation and you happen to be a coworker, as soon as he's done, do you run up to him and kiss him, or do you kiss him before he goes up and gives your presentation? No, because it's not professional or appropriate in the situation. It's not appropriate. It's not appropriate. And yes, there are times when maybe privately, if it makes sense and you work together. I mean, this would be a very remote circumstance, then maybe you can have a moment, but it should not be performative in front of people. You are there to work. You're not on a date. You're not there to get away from the kids for a while. You are there to work. And because they're more interested in slobbering all over each other than interacting with the veterans, you can basically say they're not really working. They're just there for the free vacation. That's hard to ignore. That's hard to ignore. And the publicity. Meghan wants the publicity. She loves the publicity. She loves the publicity, but at the expense of the veterans. Because I have been to the Invictus Games. I went there in 2016. I almost went to the Toronto Games, and then I probably didn't have enough money, and I was like, I can't get off work, and kind of out of sight, out of mind. Anyways, it was really cool to go to Orlando because you had the benefit of Disney World. So, what that meant was people who, let's say, are going to Disney World, they might find out the Invictus Games is at the same time. And it's like, oh, I want to support the veterans. Let's get a ticket. And I did have to pay for all the tickets, opening ceremony and the couple of competitions I went to. We had to pay for them. And paying for them meant that the Invictus Games was getting some revenue. And it was also an opportunity for the families to go enjoy something like Disney World. And I felt like that worked so much better. And what I saw with Harry as well, as him constantly engaging people, even as we were leaving, in fact, and I kind of wish I had recorded it like with video, but video wasn't quite as like, we weren't quite as aware of video on our camera yet. Like it existed, but we weren't like thinking about it quite as much as we are now. And he was actually walking really close to me and my sister as we were departing to catch our plane. And he like went by and stopped and chatted with somebody. And he was interacting with a lot of people as he walked around. But now with Meghan, I would imagine he would walk over to this older woman. It was an older woman, I think, in a wheelchair. And she'd be hanging onto his hand for dear life while he talks to her. And then as soon as she wants to leave, grabbing him and dragging him away. Because I don't think she enjoys this very much. She enjoys the attention, but I don't think she enjoys this particular event. And the problem is that they're not being paid for their canoodling and love festing. They're paid to promote the Invictus Games. I don't know how slobbering all over each other is supposed to help promote the Invictus Games. Why is that supposed to get me or a Canadian citizen or anyone to buy a ticket to watch you two make out? Now, it's a bit of an exaggeration, but I think the issue still stands. Why are any of us paying for that? Why are any of us paying for that? You're supposed to be promoting the games. You're not supposed to be doing kissy faces and cuddling next to each other. That's not the purpose of the games. And it's a disservice to the veterans. It's a slap in the face to the veterans for the two of them to do that. And because of all this, I came to a conclusion. And it's funny because I almost kind of forgot what I was going on because I was going on a tangent about the PDA. But because of this hanging on, and particularly this picture, grabbing his arm, pulling it across her, snuggling into his shoulder, it made me think of something. And it made me think of something way, way back. And I'm like, wait, wait, he has literally gotten into a relationship with the exact woman he probably did not want to at the end of the day because she very much reminds me of, again, the English term limpet. And it is a slang term, in case you don't know, and it means someone clingy or dependent, someone disregarding or ignorant of another's personal space. And again, it's like this little crustacean that sends to like stick to you. So it's a marine gastropod mollusk. This low conchal shell, broadly open beneath, browses over rocks or timbers, littoral areas, and clings very tightly when disturbed. Megan looks like somebody disturbed because she's clinging awful tightly to him. She's clinging very, very tightly. And what's so ironic about it is how Harry used that term in regards to Catherine in 2007. So, guys, we're going way back in time here. So, this is an article from April 16th, 2007. This is while Catherine and William were broken up. And I remember this and I was like, am I crazy? Am I crazy? I remember this. And I like wanted to make sure I was right. I was seeing a couple people like post about it on Tumblr, but I really needed to see if I was right in this article, like if it was reported, because I was like, I'm pretty positive. But this was a long time ago. I have not heard this term referred to by regarding Catherine in eons. So I was like, okay, so it's pretty far down actually here in the article. All right, guys. So it says, while the Queen and Prince Charles, both of whom are said to like Kate immensely, are said to be sad but supportive of William's decision because he was kind of like he didn't want to settle yet. He kind of still wanted to see maybe experiment a bit. So he broke it off with Catherine. Prince Harry is known to have had sympathy with those of William's friends who dubbed Kate the Limpet. Harry has always felt Kate enjoyed her fame by association a little too much, unlike his own girlfriend, Chelsea. I mean, does he not see it? Does he not see the irony that nearly 2 decades ago, a decade or so before he got married, that William's friends, and by extension Harry, because it definitely lumps in there, considered Catherine a limpet, somebody who was clinging to William and desperate to enjoy the fame and fortune that came from being associated with him. That Harry has married a woman that is desperately clinging to him, very, very needy, I'm sure very stifling, probably a bit controlling too, clinging so desperately to him, and also enjoys fame a little too much by association. Harry married the limpet. It wasn't William, it was Harry. And I will say, in Catherine's defense, I imagine that, yes, she probably clung to William a little bit. Why? Because he was the most eligible bachelor in the world. So she had to be on guard and defensive around her man a lot more than other women have to be. And that is because there are so many women, even friends or what have you, that would be more than willing to probably undermine Catherine if it meant the throne. So she was sure, I'm well aware of that, well aware of that. And she definitely played with the press a bit, especially while they were broken up. But here's the big difference between Catherine and Meghan. And there are a multitude of differences, but I want you to catch on to this one here a bit, is that Catherine's behavior completely changed once the relationship was secure. Once she knew she had him, I don't think, even after that, even before that, I don't think she was necessarily clinging to him. And especially after marriage, she's not needlessly clutching to him as if he'll run away at the first sign of somebody better. They are wildly secure in their relationship. I think this whole cancer situation has really re-emphasized the importance of each other, their family, the things they've gone through together. They have been together forever. They are really each other's only loves in many ways. They have been through life together. They've been through heartache, through joys, through sadness, so many different things. And so they are stronger together. And so they don't need to prove their love by holding hands. They don't need to prove their love by her leaning on his shoulder and cuddling up to him for the cameras. They don't need to do that because they're secure. The performance to them doesn't matter. And they also know they're at work, but the performance doesn't matter because it's the same whether they're there in front of the public or behind the scenes. Yes, they change their behavior slightly between personal and professional, but they're still the same couple either way. Harry and Meghan strike me as two people who are wildly insecure, especially Meghan. I think she's wildly insecure. And I think these last couple of weeks have been really hard for her to see everything that she sort of worked for crumble and see her reputation once again be dragged through the mud. I mean, I don't have a ton of sympathy for her because a lot of it she did to herself, but her clinging to him so much and so often, all I can think is, I am less certain of the future of your relationship than I was a couple of days ago because you're performing. It's part of a performance. Either love bombing or I don't know. It's something. It's part of a performance. And those type of relationships when you have to start performing the PDA just generally don't end well. They don't end well because the PDA performance, it's there just for the cameras. It's not really there for them. And I think sometimes Harry grabs onto her and everything, in part because, he thinks she's his mother. And that's been very clear that she basically, to him, is the reincarnation of his mother, which goes to show I really don't think he knew his mother that well. But also, I think at the same time, it's part of the demands that they made at the beginning of the relationship. And the thing is, once you stop doing the PDA, it becomes obvious. Because if it was part of the performance and you're not feeling it, you're not going to do it. But the flip side too is that if you're overdoing it, I mean, we've had 3 kisses, numerous shoulder cuddles, things honestly I haven't seen before, too much, and in such a short period of time. All it makes me think is that your relationship is not in a good place at all because you're performing. They are 150% performing. And yes, they feel it sometimes, but I don't think they feel it other times. I thought when Harry gave her the kiss, yes, he leaned down, but I couldn't help but wonder because he didn't sort of react to her at all as if it was just part of what he knew he had to do in the relationship. I think there's things Harry knows he has to do to keep her happy. And so he does them. They're sort of automatic because it looked more like an automatic gesture, not of, all right, honey, I'm going back up. Okay, honey, let me give you a kiss. He's just like, Linda, and left. There just didn't seem to be much emphasis in it, much, I would argue, love in it. Like she was really trying and she was like trying to put, like, again, the performance there, but she was never a great actress. He's beyond bad, but she was never a great actress. And you feel the overperformance. She's overperforming. She's overperformative because she's trying to mask what's really going on, which is that I don't think they're happy. I think they're stressed. I think things aren't going well. January was a disaster. Her show is at risk. Their Netflix deal is probably going to be dead. And they don't have many options left, really. But like I said, guys, I don't have much sympathy. They did it to themselves. Nobody told them to go to Hollywood. Nobody told them to go on Oprah. Nobody told them to write their book, their Netflix series, all these sorts of things that trashed his family for 2+ years. I feel like they're trying to sort of try to right the ship, but it's too little too late, guys. You went too far and now you're dealing with the consequences. People don't trust you. People don't like you. And then when you go and traipse over the absolute disaster that has happened to somebody due to a wildfire and make it all about yourself, which they didn't even help. They literally walked around and told a girl, you might have lost everything, but I will get you this lousy t-shirt from Billie Eilish. Now, again, I would argue that the girl probably appreciated it, but everything about them is performance. They need some authenticity. They need maybe a bit of humble pie. And I don't think clinging more desperately to each other is going to make us think that things are better. In fact, all it does, to me at least, is symbolize that things are just getting worse. So, guys, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of my whole Limpet situation. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And then you look at Harry's quote and I was like, Harry, oh, dude, you married the exact thing you were sort of railing against 20 years ago. You married that exact thing. So, bravo to you. Bravo to you. So, but I will say though, Chelsea was never into the spotlight. She never was. So bravo to her. But guys, again, thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate all your support really so much. There's really so much going on. It's very exciting, but a lot at the same time. So guys, thank you again. I really appreciate it. Have a wonderful evening and I will talk to you again very soon. Bye.